Welcome to CSE Healthcare Systems Open RIO web recording. This is section 12, Prescribing Medicines and Equipment Management. The first thing we're going to look at is 12.1, demonstrate how your system supports safe prescribing. I'm starting this session with an overview of how RIO shows current and historical prescribing, and then I'm going to try and answer each of your individual questions. In Open RIO, you can configure a summary panel such as this to support the prescriber or those wanting to view medication-related items. For example, here I've got conditions in my summary, a summary of allergies. This client actually has no allergies recorded, and I can tell that from the green icon at the top here. I'll go into more detail about recording allergies shortly. And I've got a panel that lists for me the current medication that the client is taking. From here, I can use the link to go directly into the summary of medication, or I can use the case record, and I have a folder that includes many different items related to prescribing. This page lists the active medication for Mrs. Banner, and I've got another tab where I can record medication from other sources, and that's where I'm going to start. This can include pharmacy medication, items bought over the counter, and medication from GPs. RIO uses a multi-lex drug data file from First Data Bank Europe to search for medication items. I don't have to use the full term here. I have a choice to search for generic or brands. I'm leaving my search at both. I can choose to include or exclude appliances or discontinued medication. I could search by using hierarchies of appliances or categories, and I've got some advanced options here. For example, I could limit the search to return only a specific medication form, perhaps tablets. RIO has now found for me all the medication that meets the search that I've given. I want to record that my client is taking Piriton as over-the-counter medication. I can click in and see the variety of Piriton medications that are included. There is a key at the bottom here that identifies for me what each of these colours denotes: generic or branded medication, where there are alerts, and where there are blacklisted non-HS items. I'm going to go for generic tablet, and then I can add in any of the details that I know about this medication. The client told me they started it on the 1st of November. They haven't stocked it yet. They're taking it once a day. They've obtained this without prescription over the counter, and it's the client that's given me the information. Saving this will now display it on the non-RIO medications tab. And this information will now be able to inform my RIO prescribing. We're now going to have a look at what I have here on my active medication tab. And I can have a view of this in different ways. So I can have a look at a prescriber view, so I can see the things that have been prescribed by me and the things that have been prescribed by my colleagues. I can look at medication types, so here this is splitting it out into regular medication and required medication, PRN. And if I return back to my standard view, I've got an actions menu at the end here that allows me to manage the medication, and at the bottom I've got some hyperlinks that will take me to allergies, results reporting, medication administration. I've got one for prescriptions that have been issued, and I've also got one that shows you past medication, which, as you can see here, includes the paracetamol that has only just been discontinued and some flucloxacillin, which was discontinued a little while ago. As you can see, that paracetamol that was discontinued recently is greyed out, and that's to highlight recently discontinued medication on this view, so that you're aware and can account for things like half-lives of medication and ensure you're not drug doubling. Okay, you can see at the bottom I've got a button to be able to prescribe medication, and what I'm planning to do is work along with the scenario of I've just discontinued the paracetamol because it wasn't strong enough pain relief for Mrs. Banner, and I'm going to prescribe her a stronger analgesic. I just want a moment here to be able to swap user for you, so that I can show you how this page looks if I'm logged in as somebody who's not able to prescribe. So this is Pam Higgins. She doesn't have the ability to prescribe recorded on her card. She's not a prescriber, and I don't have the buttons that you saw at the bottom to allow me to prescribe. I can still record other medication, and I can still view past prescriptions, past medication, but I can't do any prescribing. RIO also allows for nurse prescribers to have access to a restrictive formulary as included in the appropriate part of the drug tariff. So, back logged in as myself, who can prescribe, I'm going to do just that, and we're going to prescribe some stronger pain medication for Mrs. Banner. The same drug index is used here for searching for medication. And in addition to the generic and brand items, I have the ability to search looking at formularies. Formularies can be locally defined in RIO and are a way of being able to push prescribers down a route that the Trust would like to take. And as we go on, you'll see the result of me not choosing a formulary medication. As seen here. So I need to add a reason why I've not chosen to use something from the formulary when I prescribe my paracetamol and codeine. Now, here, RIO is going to provide me an active checking page, because this is where the drug database differs for prescribing compared to just recording a medication from another route. And you can see I have a list on this side of recent and discontinued and other medication, including that Piriton that I recorded. I've got tabs here that highlight for me contraindications, risks, precautions, and any warnings. Where there are alerts in red, I am required to add a reason into the bottom box before I can proceed. You can see at the top of the page, RIO has pulled through for me the client's weight and height. And I'm going to record the frequency of these tablets, a start date of today, units as tablets, and then save that. That has now been added to my list here. Okay, so that's the end of the basics. Now let's move on to look at how RIO supports the safe prescribing of new medication in reference to each of your items. And I'm going to start with allergies. I'm going to, as you saw, this lady had a past prescription for flucloxacillin, one of the penicillins, and I'm going to record an allergy to penicillin. Because in my little scenario, the reason that she stopped taking the flucloxacillin was because she developed a penicillin rash. And this was confirmed. I'm just going to finally add the year because we know when that was. And you can now see her allergy banner has changed to red. I have a link down here that will take me neatly back into the medications page because these parts of RIO sit so closely together. And I'd just like to move on to show you, having recorded that, the effect of trying to prescribe another penicillin-based product. I'm going to go for the generic. And here I have a red tab highlighting for me that she has an allergy to penicillin and that this medication contains penicillin. So at this point I'm going to not continue to prescribe that. You can also see here some of the other tabs that are shown. Safety messages such as the allergies and precautions are all highlighted in red on the RIO page here. And I'm now going to bring in for you another example to show you and illustrate some of the other things that you've asked for. You can see why I've chosen methotrexate as my example. You can see here medications with NPSA alerts are all highlighted as red on the initial search screen, and methotrexate is definitely one of those that should flag up several highlights. If I click the icon at the end of the row, I can see the information, product information, and on this screen I can see a tabbed view of product information similar to that of the BNF, including several tabs to show you items such as side effects, which in this particular medication is an extremely long list, uses, information about doses, contraindications, precautions and warnings. So that's covered off allergies, patient safety alerts, interactions, BNF guidance, side effects. And we now need to move on to look at patient information sheets and knowledge base. From the RIO medication page, you can use help text to provide a list of click-through information to give me access to patient leaflets, patient information and access to different knowledge bases. Okay, I've now navigated back to Mrs. Banner's record, where you can start to see how the things that we have done within that has built up. So we now have allergies in her panel and a history of other medications. Having drilled down, I'm now going to quickly prescribe another medication to take you through the printing of prescriptions. I'm overriding the warning about the interaction because that has been clinically indicated to me. We're going to start the medication today and save that. To print that prescription, simply select the print, print selected, and it will take me to some options. I have my dispensing options. I can say whether it's a repeat issue or not. I can say how many tablets I require to be dispensed. And I can add the details of the team that I work for. I now have a long list of prescription types that I can issue to, including, should I wish to, a handwritten FP10. And then I can click to print the prescription. There are different levels of access to prescription printing within RIO. You may be able to print prescriptions but not create them, or create them but not print them, or perform both tasks. And the format that I record, that I use to print the prescription with, will be dependent upon having the correct printer and print available. We now move on to medication. RIO supports medication administration in both in and outpatients. I'm going to show you here inpatient medication administration using the ward round mode. A list of all the clients on the ward who have medications to be administered is displayed. The different coloured backgrounds indicate whether it's regular or PRN medication. A key is provided at the bottom of the page to highlight these. This page deliberately omits the name and dose of the drug to be administered, and it forces the end user to drill down into the medicine's administration page, which contains all the information required to safely administer the drug. Here I can record administration. A red arrow will allow me to open up the details for administration, and I can select the items that I'm going to give and update. I now confirm the details of the medication I have given. And I have to enter a password, but if you're on a smart card enabled system, you won't have to do that. RIO uses HL7 messaging for its technical standards, and so it has the ability to enable links with other systems to share information, such as future prescribing links with GP systems. The next item is stock management. RIO does not have dedicated stock control, but forms such as this wastage of medicine stocks form can be used to provide some stock management support. So here this is used at award level. And can start to build up a history of stock management. RIO reports are locally defined and can be used to support analysis of prescribing. For instance, the report I have here for most prescribed medication, and we can look back to see what's been the most prescribed medication in the last month. RIO supports pharmacy verification, and reports can be configured to support that. And in addition, you could use the reports and editable letters within RIO to support medication adherence by sending reminders to renew, collect or renew medication. RIO supports specialist addiction prescribing using common medication orders. Here I am going to illustrate for you a reducing prescription of methadone. You can see the details of what will be prescribed in reducing increments of 20%. And these will be added to the medication record. I could choose to print those from here, but for drug service prescriptions, they're primarily printed in batches, and I have a batch print facility to be able to do that. I can choose to group that by pharmacy or prescriber and print those items. Section 12.2. Support for the management of medicines, equipment and medical devices. Firstly, recording, receipt and management of stock. RIO forms can be used to record the management of both physical and digital items. For example, earlier I showed you a stock control form for a ward, and this is an example of an equipment form that has been created specifically for palliative care equipment. Support for activities around the management of items can be provided with RIO reports. For example, once I've got the due date for a safety or maintenance check on my form, I am able to use this to inform a report which will list for me all items that require service activities. The same links between locally defined forms and reports can be used to support the issuing, dispensing or disposal of items, the tracking of ownership of items, or notification when stock is low and reordering required. RIO has a discharge summary tool that can be used to create correspondence in recognised formats for external agencies. For example, here I can edit this document and add in data items that support things such as informing the GP of which medication they need to continue. I can select which are the items that they need to be aware of. Save the document and then use the Actions icon to authorise after careful checking and print either to a PDF to be emailed to the external agencies or as a letter format, or it could be sent via PCS as an electronic message. Lastly, you ask about links to safety alerts, and once again this is where the RIO help text can be used to give you direct access into the medical device alert functionality. That concludes CSE Healthcare Systems Open RIO web recording for V12 prescribing medicines and equipment management. Thank you.